So going back about 2 years when you played a gig up in Boston at the Lily Pad, and prior to the gig, we were sitting on multiple occasions.
Well, we were at Billy Hart.
Yeah, yep.
Billy Hart session.
Yep, that was here too. Yeah, recording session.
And when I fell on my guitar.
Right. Yeah, so you were having some health issues that were kind of underlying, and it was affecting your. I remember when we were sitting together, you were kind of seizing or just like kind of forgetting certain things. But it was
I couldn't speak. I was losing consciousness.
Right.
Yeah, I was in and out of the body at that point, and I wasn't controlling it. I was ill. Right, I was losing it at that point. I wound up in the hospital.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so all that was leading up to the gig at the Lily Pad in Boston, and after that you were taken, or your daughter, right, suggested that she take you to the hospital because of kind of how you were feeling after the gig.
Yeah.
And since that time, it seems like you've started a rebuild. Started regaining some strength.
Regeneration.
Mm-hmm.
My nerve damage, miraculously, I have to say, maybe naturally, but I have to say miraculously, because once you've had nerve damage that you had difficulty playing from or with all your life, that it was an obstruction to your ability to play more freely. When that disappears, it's a big deal, man. Right? To go from intense pain then to no pain, and the ability to finally play chords without pain, to me that was miraculous, man.
Yeah, so now where you're at now, just before on the porch, you pulled out your cousin's classical guitar, which is, it's a very well built and well made guitar. Sounds great, and it seems like now, because I've been watching you play now over the past few years.
Couple of years.
Where you had a lot of difficulty.
Oh, those years.
Chords.
Yeah, it was very difficult. Yeah.
Right, but now it seems like there's some more integration happening, and maybe there's.
I could become a guitar player. I might. I might become a guitar player now. Especially with the influences that I've been exposed to and the people I've met along the way, the great players. It's possible. But it hasn't been my time. I see that at this end of life period, it seems to be my time to play more, let's say, acoustic. I won't say classical, but on a classical instrument, a classical guitar, Spanish guitar, play music now that I'm free to play. And I gave you a sample of it on the porch.
Sure.
Where there's now recovering fluency. I don't have nerve resistance, nerve pain. It's not becoming easier. I don't have the strength, so I never developed the strength to play chords. So my hand isn't quite that of a guitar player's chording. But right now I'm starting to find beauty in the little things I can play without pain. But it's a new phase. This could be a new period of beautiful manifestations of song, guitar sounds. It's possible.
Yeah, throughout your music, your playing and your life, you've always had your own approach to things. No matter what you were doing, whether it was dealing with the physical aspect, the left hand, so that forced you to play more melodically and single note lines and stuff like that. And then we were talking about on the porch too, how you certain things were given to you, like this guitar, but you didn't give them the time of day, or you kind of avoided them, just
right.
because you were rooted, or you were focusing on your practice, spiritual practice, you're writing books and helping people among other things, but and then you had certain people that came your way, such as Lenny Bro, and then and what he said to you was that he was taking things from everybody else, right? He was taking music from everybody else, but
I call that the paradox of Lenny Bro. Right, who I knew, and he stayed with me in Canada. He stayed with a lot of people. Sometimes he didn't have a place to stay, but he did stay with me. He was drawn to me. and my music. So I'd see him at my gigs. I mean, he went to everybody's gigs. So Lenny was well known, and he would get around. It was great virtuoso. And he would crash at my place. He would play my guitars, but more importantly, he asked me to let him hear my music. He thought there was something going on in my music that I had no clue about, and he was right about that. So, because early on he says, "Hey man, I heard you play," and he says, like he was hearing God. Now, I don't know exactly what he's talking about. I know I'm often an unconscious player, so I said, yeah, it's possible. Something came through that I didn't know that affected him in a certain way, reminded him of something. I didn't know that he was a Roman Catholic as I have been. So we have this kind of Roman Catholic connection with the Jesus life, energy. Right? So we were close in a certain way. I played gigs that he couldn't make. I don't think the other musicians cared about my playing, because I've always done what I felt I had to do. It had nothing to do with other players, and maybe even what was happening. But yeah, no. So we got close enough, maybe not enough. And when I'd see him in New York, it was like a wonderful encounter. Munoz, Lenny, hey. So it was a beautiful thing, right? So he respected what I was playing, right? And while he called me a certain kind of maybe unconscious genius, we all know in terms of styles, he was great, one of the best. He could play anybody. And that's what I call the paradox, because he told me, he says, yeah, Tisziji. He said, yeah, I go down to New York looking for work, and I have to stand behind 300 Lenny Bros to get work if I can get any. And he says, I play everybody's stuff so well, I don't know who I am. And so the last time we talked, he said what he was doing was studying McCoy-Tyner harmonic concepts. I think at one point he showed me what he was talking about. I said, no, he had it down. And that's what has been his power as a player, his interest in the harmonic relative to piano players, and his ability to translate that to the guitar, right? And play it and amaze people in the process. So I miss the cat. I really do miss him. But we got very close for a moment, and he'd like to stay with me because I had a different idea than a lot of the people. I wasn't really into the music or jazz. Toronto as a city, particularly. I love the people, but I was internal. I wasn't into the atmosphere. I knew I was passing through Toronto. Great place. I love the people, love the country. Nothing but good things to say. My daughter was born up there. My son Rebbe's born up there. Rebbe's mom was from Toronto. So I have a strong connection with Toronto. Paul is from that area. And so many dearest friends are people who are related to the grandmother's country. Come in.
Yeah. And then so you played with a lot of different players up there, and one player in particular was the Sonny Greenwich experience. You were playing in his band, and you guys were kind of maybe coming both inspired by Coltrane, or both were.
Yeah, he was into Coltrane. Mm-hmm. He would invite me over to his place and listen to Coltrane records. I didn't need to hear them over there, because everybody I knew was playing Coltrane records. Right? I had my own records. So what do you have as a question about that? Yeah, so he and I met at Le Fauché on University Avenue in Toronto, jazz club at the time, and we talked. He asked me a couple of questions. I told him I was a guitar player, and so I think he let me see his guitar, and I played something on it. And I played him something, and he said, Don, come over here. Let him play with us. And just like that, I went and got my guitar, and I was playing with his band. He would say to me that my playing would open a hole for him to pass through. So obviously I was having an influence as a drummer on him in terms of psychic opening. I had no doubt about it because that's what I've always done. Right. And I also was asked to play with him when he played with Miles Davis at Massey Hall back in the day. Right. So yeah, we had some good experiences, some similarities and some differences. Yeah, but I wasn't going up there to do anything, for myself. But I did go up there to study. I studied him. I learned from him. I saw him. I assumed that. I saw Lenny. I assumed that. Some people thought I was imitating Lenny. I heard him. I played a few things. I mean, that's what the guitar players do. They go, they listen, duplicate it, or practice it, try it out for themselves. That's pretty normal. There's nothing spooky about that, or particularly selfish or manipulative or political about it. All cats do it. In fact, things that I remember about Lenny was he was a follower of Sonny. What's his name? Sonny. No, there was another Sonny. Rollins.
Yeah.
Rollins. He even looked like Sonny Rollins. So people are going to say, well, I've taken from him, from Sonny Greenwich. He took from Sonny Rollins, and when I talked to Sonny, he was always interested in talking about Coltrane. So everybody's taken from everybody. I don't think I took any more from anybody, and that's obvious now. I did play with Pharaoh on and off for 40 years, and with Rashid for several years, and with Ravi a few years. So I've paid some dues, and so I've heard a lot of players play, and I've enjoyed hearing everybody's music, and I'm happy for everybody.